Yesterday, we got our second deep dive with the Sights and Sounds deep dive from College Football 25, and it was amazing. If you're not hyped for this game, I honestly don't know what to tell you. But at the end of the article that EA Sports released, we got a bit of news that the next deep dive will be for Dynasty. There it is. A behind-the-scenes look at the presentation of College Football 25. We can't wait for you to experience the world that we have, and we'll continue, yada, yada, yada. But at the end, the Dynasty team will be providing a deep dive into all things coming to Dynasty mode next up. So, we should be getting a deep dive for Dynasty next week. But I want to go over some things that were revealed within that article and the trailer that revealed 7 features that are coming to Dynasty. So, number 1, dynamic attendance. A new feature to help bring more authenticity into the game revolves around attendance levels in the stadium. To help paint a better picture, here is a great example from one of our team members who was playing a dynasty with FIU. During the first couple of games, the stands were not very full, which resulted in a lower home field advantage stadium pulse. Once he landed a big win on the road at Indiana and the team record was 7-0, the stands were becoming more full to start the game. By the end of the season, with a 10-1 record and finishing in the top 25, home games would result in sellout crowds, and the home field advantage pulse meter was now rocking high on the way to the conference championship. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons, because as you watched kind of the trailer and read through dynamic attendance, this is an important point here with FIU. Starting with a very small school, FIU has been one of the obviously worst programs in FBS since they joined in, I believe, 2000 or 2001. They are not going to have great attendance, but after 1 year, they already pretty much sold out. I don't know if this was in season 1 that they're describing here or season 2. I don't know, but it sounds like if you have a really good season, you're going to be able to fill up those stands. And the important thing in this article that he said was at the start of the game. So at the start of the game, the fans started to fill up the stadium, meaning right away the stadium was up. So that kind of definitely leans towards the fact that if there are blowouts, maybe your team's getting blown out, the stadium is going to empty. And as you are blowing out a team, maybe the stadium empties. Or if you're on the road and you blow out a team, their stadium empties. I love that because that is so realistic. Fans do leave games early. I'm not so sure how much it happens in college. I haven't been to many college games, but obviously at the pro level, fans do definitely start to leave games as there's blowouts, as you know, the game's over, that type of thing. And I just love it. I love it all, especially for Dynasty. And playing road games is going to be a lot more fun, a lot more disadvantage, especially for those big-time programs that you're going up against with the smaller schools. Okay, the number 2 thing revealed for Dynasty was the in-game studio updates. Let's just read this from the article. As fans of college football, we know that week-to-week games are happening at all times. Through studio updates, you'll be informed of the latest news from around the country. Longtime ESPN studio host Kevin Connors will be jumping in from time to time to call out national upset scores for games you care about in your conference, or updates on how your rival is doing when in Dynasty. These updates will happen when you are playing in a dynasty that is offline or online. For an online dynasty, you'll hear about scores from other members in your dynasty if they have already finished their matchup that week. Okay, a couple of things to unveil here. Now, back in NCAA 14, we did have studio updates, and they were pretty cool. We saw, scores around the country. I'm kind of more excited for it this year, and you're going to see why in a little bit, because kind of like the menus in the play calling make it more in your face, kind of, so to speak. It's not really just like a cutscene. But one thing I am excited about here is for offline is for your rivals and your conference. Now, we will see updates from those two, especially the rival. The rival thing is new. I know they were showing conference updates and studio updates back in NCAA 14 or College Football Revamped. That was already in the game, but for rivals, I don't think so. But particularly for Online Dynasty, which I know a lot of you guys are going to play, you'll now see updates from other members in your dynasty if they have already finished. So I guess you can spoil it yourself before you start your game to see what they did. But if you hadn't known, you can kind of see their progress as you get studio updates from their games too, which is actually really, really cool. All right, number 3. And this kind of builds off of that last point. This is Dynasty news in Playcalling. So we've already talked a little bit about this, and they have a new score bug in this game. Obviously, it's a new game, but they also have a new play calling screen, which we haven't seen in a football game. So you will see shots from inside the stadium, kind of a broadcast shot, replays, you'll see stats and everything. But one of the things that I really, really am excited for is the advanced stats, the advanced news in this play calling screen. Full disclosure, there's going to be a lot of delay of games in this new game because you're going to be going through the stats and everything. But let's just talk about the type of information panels that they will have throughout the game. And this is strictly from straight from the article. So you have stats compares. So you have today's stats, season stats, career stats, versus last week's stat, and versus opponent. So I'm excited for a couple of things for these stats here. Last week, what did they do last week? It's not every time you're, looking at what an opponent did. Yeah, if you're like a deep dynasty guy, you're looking at what they did last week. But as you play a team, let's just say you just want to hammer through some games, you will actually see what they did last week. So let's just say you see a slot receiver, you're like, why is this guy killing? Well, you'll get maybe a stat line that says last week he had over 10 catches, 100 yards. You'll probably know then. And then versus the opponent, you'll see stats. Now, I don't know what that means. Does that mean historically versus the opponent or what? Or just like in today's game? But they already said today, so I'm unsure on that. The next bit of information they said is impact players, who they are and why they're impact players, showing their ability. So that kind of gives it away. I hope this isn't the case, though, that impact players are strictly based on ability. I hope that's not the case. I hope that's based on performance, too. But we'll see. But it says why are they impact players, showing their abilities. Ranking top players from around the country in TDs, rushing yards, etc. So you will get to see, basically leaders of the NCAA. I hope they actually expand that to actually leaders in the conference too, not just the NCAA, just to give you more of like a true experience for your dynasty. If you're in the MAC, you really don't care who's leading the nation in scoring and whatever it is. Rankings. Conference, media, and coach poll and potential playoff brackets, which is pretty cool. All the rankings, don't need to go into that. Wear and tear, we already saw that through the other deep dive in the field goal kicker range, which is new. So I guess the game will kind of estimate how far you can make a field goal. I don't know how accurate it's going to be based on ratings, or if it's going to help you out, kind of like cheat to know a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. And then lastly, they have over 400 panels to keep each game feeling fresh and new. 400, and that was the one worry when I first saw the deep dive trailer for gameplay. I was thinking to myself, how repetitious will this screen be? And I think they kind of answered it here. 400 panels, which is pretty cool. All right, number 4 thing they're adding to Dynasty: broadcast teams for televised games. So in Play now, you basically have your ability to select your broadcast team, but we're talking strictly for Dynasty. The celebrated team of Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit will be on the call in your Dynasty and Road to Glory seasons when your weekly matchup is declared the game of the week. They will also be present if you reach a conference championship game, each game of the college football playoff, and the national championship. But like I said, we have 2 teams that will be a part of your playing experience, referring back to the Thursday night football broadcast in the final years of our original iteration. The iconic crew of Reese Davis, Jesse Palmer, and David Pollock will be on the call for the other games on your Dynasty and Road to Glory schedule. So if you're like a MAC team, a Sun Belt team, a team that just doesn't get a lot of national exposure. For the most part, you're going to see Reese Davis, Jesse Palmer, and David Pollock. But if you reach the conference championship, you will get the call of Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler, and you will also get them throughout the playoffs. And if you have a nationally televised game for the game of the week. Now, I don't know how often you're going to get Kirk Herbstreit at all. If you're a smaller school, will you have a game of the week? Do they mean game of the week nationally? Do they mean game of the week in the conference? It's a little vague there. I think we might hear more details about that within Dynasty, but game of the week makes me think that it's like the nationally televised game. At least back on NCAA 14, there were some nationally televised games that were present, but I don't remember any smaller schools playing each other being national televised games. It usually had to be, a top school, like a top 25 team or something like that. So I'm very, very curious on that going forward as well. Okay, number 5 I have here. Each team will have its own commentary. So I'm going to just read this from kind of the article, and then I will show you the clip of the Owls of Kennesaw State and their commentary that Chris Fowler had custom for them. For schools we weren't able to visit, which they went to every school and got some custom sounds, but for the ones they weren't able to visit, they went to a parking garage at our Orlando studio and yelled out every chant over and over, from OHIO for Ohio State to the third down chirps for the Cardinals of Ball State. We've covered as many as possible, so I'll let you guys read this, but
we gave a little love to every single school in the game.
Who gives a hoot? The Owls do. It's a touchdown.
This is awesome because I think that one thing about college football makes it so much greater than any other sport, in my opinion, is that there are so many schools and there are so many fans of those schools, and having your own personalized experience for your dynasty is going to be really, really awesome. And hearing the broadcast team actually reference things in regards to your program, no matter how big or how small, is really, really cool. They obviously had 3 years. I think they were developing this thing before 3 years, in my opinion, but they had 3 years to develop this thing, get a lot of content, and I think this has just been amazing. All the details that they are revealing, and it just makes it seem homier when you're playing your dynasty. And I think that this is going to help the coaching carousel out a lot, because not every experience is going to be the same. I think that was one of my maybe issues with kind of the coaching carousel back in 14. When I went to a new school, it didn't really seem different. Yeah, things were different, like, this roster and the players and the coaches and the uniforms, but it needs to feel different. And that's one thing I am looking forward to, and seeing that is going to be in the game is pretty cool. All right, number 6 I have on the list is crowd noise will affect the snap in road games. So here's the thing that I realized from that famous clip, the Mo Bamba, Penn State, Michigan. Now, let's just play this clip. And now looking at that clip back, if you look at it and you see there is a fake snap and then an actual attempt at a snap at about 4 to 3 seconds, and there's no snap. So crowd noise looks like it will not only affect, the receiver routes, how they're squiggly and everything when the crowd noise is there, the shaking of the screen as well, the seem like that's back, and the stadium pulse and everything, but it also will affect the snap as well. So when you're on the road, you got to make sure you're not waiting until the last moment to snap the ball. You got to make sure you snap it with plenty of time so your center gets the call, because it looks like the Michigan quarterback is clapping there. Nothing's coming out. There's going to be some delay of games that you're not obviously ready for there. So you got to make sure that you snap the ball plenty of time. That's going to make road games in Dynasty a lot more meaningful, especially with a big crowd you're playing in front of. All right, the last thing, which is one of the coolest things, is the crowd themes for big games or any games at that. I'm going to read this from the article. Another example of what makes college football so special are the theme games when the crowd comes together in unison to create a pattern across the stadium. From the checkerboard pattern at Tennessee to the triple stripe layout at Boise State, we have over 170 different patterns for schools that have them in real life. Each seat in the stadium was hand set up seat by seat to match the patterns. Also, if your school has multiple themes, those are into. Here we have the stripe out, the helmet stripe, and then to one of the most electric atmospheres in college football, the white out game. Now, one thing I love about this in particular is that, like I said before, it's going to feel like every experience is unique, and that's what makes college football really, really fun. And I'm excited for crowd themes to be in the game. It just makes it that much better and more unique to the experience within each home stadium. Can't wait for it. I'm also wondering if this is going to be in Teambuilder. Like, will you be able to kind of select, what type of themes your crowd can have? Or at the play call screen, or not the play call screen, the, get ready screen or whatever, the screen you do before you start the game where you're selecting your jersey and all that. Do you get to select the crowd theme as something before hopping into the game? I don't know. Can you create like a certain, game on each schedule if you're creating a rivalry that you want it to be a whiteout? That would be awesome. I don't know if that's in the game, but that'd be cool if it was. But Dynasty Deep Dive should be coming next week, so we will find out more information about that. And I'm expecting Team Builder news to come after that, but we'll see. So that's going to do it for the Dynasty features, which were revealed in the Sights and Sounds Deep Dive. I am so excited for the game. And let me know down in the comment section what you thought of the Sights and Sounds Deep Dive and these Dynasty features. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Hit subscribe, hit that like button, stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.